All right. Welcome, my lovely astronauts. Welcome back to Astro Tarot Research on this beautiful day as Jupiter goes direct in the sign of Gemini in the Nakshatra of Punarvasu. And we are going to get into that beautiful Nakshatra in just a moment. It is the return to the light. Right as we go retrograde, right as we go direct after being retrograde. So I'm very excited to be here. As you guys know, I was out of town this weekend and I feel like I've come back and it's a totally different atmosphere and a totally different vibe. So let me actually check to see if I'm live and you can hear me, because I have been rambling on for a few seconds. And I'm just like, hello, am I being heard? Am I being heard? It's still Mercury retrograde. And so you never know, Okay, I am live, guys, and that makes me happy to hear. Let me get my script as we get into this brilliant vibe of Jupiter going direct. How does it feel? Do you guys feel any different? I mean, technically it's not direct yet. I mean, we have maybe like a couple of hours or something like that. It goes direct at like 11:30 p.m. today, Eastern Standard Time. Depending on where you are in the world, Pacific time, I'm not quite sure, but I do know Eastern Standard Time, it's like around 11:30 p.m. So let me get my script for you guys, because I don't want to get off track. I know how I am. I start talking, I start going, off the rails, off script, no pun intended. And it's just like, what am I even talking about at this point? But for you guys, I want to make sure that this is easy to follow and easy to just get into. I'm not really sure what's going on here, though. It's a little out of order. That's fine, I guess. Whatever. All right. Here we are, guys. So Jupiter will be going direct in about a couple of hours, an hour or two, hour three. March 10th and March 11th, as I said, depending on where you are in the world, 2026. In the sign of Gemini, plopped right in the middle of Punarvasu. Plopped right in the middle of Punarvasu. I don't know what I was going for there. So let's look at this again. Punarvasu is the recalibrating, revealing nakshatra. It is the nakshatra of let's take a second look, let's revisit, revealing. I think I might have said revealing, but it's this feeling of coming in touch with your roots in a way. I've just noticed that there seems to be this raw, authentic nature to Punarvasu, which has to do with releasing inhibitions. Sometimes when we go into society, we confine ourselves into these little boxes because it is either beneficial for everyone, or we don't want anyone to be upset, or we don't want to have a dysfunctional life. And when we get into this Punarvasu energy, it's the first time that Jupiter, who rules over this nakshatra, is starting to question things. It's starting to say, like, I don't know if I necessarily like being so tamed. I don't know if I like being so restricted. I want to come in and I want to release, which is what Jupiter is. It's expansive, it's explosive, and it doesn't believe in all of these rules and boundaries and structures, even though it's quite good at making some rules. So it is marking a potential golden and restorative period until June 18th, 2026, where it will leave Punarvasu, and that's when it'll start going into Pusha Nakshatra. This period is a time of sudden reveals, global connection, and releasing boundaries. Punarvasu is ruled by Aditi, the cosmic mother associated with renewal, and don't mind my phone, don't know what's going on there, associated with renewal and protection, restoration, and emphasizing themes of returning to balance and rebuilding after disruption. You have to remember, this nakshatra is following Ardra, the storm. And let me tell you, if you've ever met an Ardra person, they get a lot of, you know what, I don't want to offend anyone, Ardra, but I've definitely seen them to have very gloomy like energy, you know, very sad, very tragic. It's Ardra, but this is the energy that comes after it. It is recovering after the storm that Ardra puts you through. So this period marks the final transformation point where we begin to see the results of decisions and actions that have been taking place in the previous months. You know, as we start to go further into this video, you might want to take the time to look back and reflect on, you know, what was happening when you had Jupiter transiting Punarvasu from August 13th, 2025 to December 4th, 2025. And this was Punarvasu specifically. Pretty sure it was like, trying to look at, remember, it's like direct dates. For me, I don't believe that it's as important for it to be as direct as more so the Nakshatra, but it is different. It is definitely different. And that's why we're making a video on Jupiter going direct in Punarvasu. So I just want to say, historically, this has been a period of highlighting global health awareness, economic recovery, and the revealing of surprise events. And I even think I said something about this when I was talking about how in my Jupiter and Cancer video, which I will link below, there were these moments where something like the economy was great, but it was like slightly improving. And so we're going to get into that a little bit more here. Not too much more, you know, I'm not an economist, but we are going to get into that facet of life here. So yes, look back from where your life was August 13th, 2025 to December 4th of 2025 and see what kind of themes were going on there in your life. That should have been the time in which Jupiter was in Punarvasu in the sign of Gemini, for at least in my recollection. But you know, if I'm not exactly right, it's okay. I should be pretty close. So if we go back and we reflect on, how do I say this? The particular time in which Jupiter was in direct in Punarvasu in Gemini, that was like March 6, 2024 to about, how do I say this? It entered Punarvasu on April 24th, 2024, and it left Punarvasu on July 4th of 2024. But it was direct in Gemini for the first time. It went direct. I mean, the last time it went direct on March 6th, 2024, but it was an Ardra then. So this is technically a new vibe. Hopefully I said that clear, okay? Last time Jupiter was going direct in Gemini. For the last time, it was actually going direct in the Nakshatra of Ardra. This time, it's going direct for the last time, at least for another 12 years, but it's going direct in the sign of Punarvasu. So different themes. So last time, that was March 6, 2024. And also the last time that Jupiter was direct in Punarvasu was April 24th, 2014. And then it left Punarvasu on July 4th, 2014. So hopefully that was clear, all right? I got all the information. I really wanted to concentrate on that period because that's the most exact and mirroring period of what we are experiencing now. So I didn't want to concentrate on too many other different energies that are going into the sky. Yeah, we could talk about the effects of Jupiter being retrograde and Punarvasu. Heck, you can look back on what was happening previously in the last couple of months and how things have been for you, especially while Jupiter was in Cancer for a short period. Then it went back into Gemini. It's in Punarvasu still. It stayed there for quite some time. And so you could think about the full entirety of this transit and not break it into direct, retrograde, and see what themes have been plaguing you, like what's been going on. You know, for me, I'm trying to think. It's definitely been a more restorative period soon as it went into this retrograde Punarvasu combination mode. Very much like, let me restore, let me recover, you know, return to the light, right? After the storm. So mine was quite literal, but maybe yours hasn't been, maybe you didn't experience it in the same way. We'll see. But honestly, you could have found yourself making like some more intense and focused social connections back in 2014. You might have been making more choices in the moment because, like I said, Jupiter is the dispelling of boundaries. And heck, you could have been doing that now. Like, these themes mirror, all right? And there may have just been some different adjustments or a transition period going on in your life in 2014 or even now. So these are the things that I have noticed when it comes to the energy of Punarvasu. It is this moment of emotional growth and the return to a place of belonging, right? Now, if you want to know specifically more about what predictions and things that I've mentioned when I was talking about Jupiter and Cancer for 2026, feel free to check out my last previous Jupiterian video. I will link it below. But to recap, the last time that Jupiter was direct in Punarvasu, April 2014, July 2014, it has some major standout events, and let's get into it. In 2014, we had ISIS captured Mosul, a major city in Iraq, and began controlling the region. It showed the world that ISIS had grown from a small group into a powerful army that could take over and rule entire cities. This event gave one supreme leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, I hope I got that right, total power over both region and politics for millions of people. By taking over the city, he could force everyone into his specific rules and how to live their daily lives. So very much this very impactful moment when it came to, I don't even want to call them the underdog because it's actually kind of horrific, the rule that they were under, but I'll say a smaller group that was underestimated by the world ended up taking the world by storm and capturing a city in Iraq, a major city at that. And so this was very shocking. As I was saying, Punarvasu can have those very shocking, revealing like moments. Then we have on April 25th, 2014, this was actually the beginning of the Flint, Michigan crisis. The city of Flint, Michigan had changed their municipal water supply source from the Detroit supplied Lake Huron water to the Flint River to save money. Now, this switch caused water disruption pipes to corrode and leach lead and other contaminants into the municipal drinking water, creating a massive public health crisis. Brown water began flowing into the residents' homes, and because those were affected were poor or African American, most of the complaints were ignored. So as you can see, Punarvasu caused it, and I wouldn't say caused it, but showcased a triggering of a very, very damaging event having to do with Flint, Michigan. It was literally the day that they decided to switch those water supplies. And I thought it was just interesting. I thought the fact that Jupiter went direct, I think literally day of or maybe a day before then, back at this time period. Yeah, it had just entered Punarvasu on the 24th, literally on the 25th. This is when they start to switch over that water supply, and it caused all of that damaging effect for so many people in Flint, Michigan. It's tough. But yeah, it can bring about these very overlooked matters come to the forefront now. Sometimes people think that when we have a planet that is going direct, that it is about finally wrapping something up. And to some degree, it can flow in that direction, right? It can be about these events are coming to a close. This is the end of a chapter, for sure. But then sometimes when we have things going direct, it can become the triggering of a new event. I just want to say that having direct energy come into play can definitely be, right away we have to start something new. Also in 2014, we had the Ice Bucket Challenge. If you remember that, it was huge. It was all over the place. Almost everyone participated in it at some point, or at least you saw people participating in it. And this was to promote a global awareness of ALS, the motor neuron disease, or Lou Gehrig's disease. I hope I said his name right. I've only ever read it, so don't judge me too bad. Its goal was to encourage donations for research. Because of the challenge, more Americans became aware of the disease. All right. So this is what it is. So much going on, so much going on. So let's go over the themes. Let's not waste time. My brain's already firing a million miles per minute. I want to talk to you about these themes. So as we can see, by going over the previous events, we have this broader awareness of the world. You know, in 2014, there was this widening awareness of global issues like the conflict in Iraq and the rise of the Islamic State. And this was in Syria as well. We also had the health awareness campaigns like the Ice Bucket Challenge. And there was also more attention to lateral sclerosis. Also, we have a lot of some unforeseen events. You know, shock came from discovering problems that were previously going unnoticed. And though the Flint, Michigan issue initially began during this period, people caught on to it rather quickly. And they were catching on while Jupiter was in Punarvasu. It's just that, like I said before, those complaints were ignored until it got, you know, extremely out of hand. So, but it was there. It was there. We also had some steady growth at this time. And I think I mentioned this previously in my Jupiter and Cancer video. And the same was about here too, where job growth was actually picking up and the employment rate fell to about 6.1% around June 2014. There was more health consciousness. In India, it was finally declared polio-free by the World Health Organization after 3 years of no polio cases have been reported. We also had around this time in 2014 an Ebola outbreak in West Africa was intensifying. The outbreak had been going on for a minute, but 2014 it actually got a little bit more intense. So cases rapidly were rising in countries like Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, sparking global concern about the virus spread. And then if we look at all the themes that we have together here, for me, my first thought was like we could be looking into more health consciousness or improvement into our own lives. And I find that interesting because when I have looked at Punarvasu in the past, I haven't necessarily connected it to themes of health. But if I clearly look back at the history, there's a lot of themes going on there when it connects to world events, overcoming mental or physical ailments. That seems to be a major thing, especially when we're talking about the Flint, Michigan water crisis. They all sort of have this health theme to them. Even if we start talking about the I guess, I don't know what you call this, the takeover of Iraq, you know, and the major city, Mosul. So that can definitely deal with health. There's definitely going to be people who are losing their lives, who have lost their lives because of that situation. And obviously that can be very devastating towards somebody's mental health. So I don't know. I just never noticed that theme until I started doing that research. And so, you know, in your own life, like I said, we might find ourselves being more focused on health problems, whether mental or physical. So I just want you guys to know that that's something that I think is going to probably come around. Let's get into predictions, you know, or not, you know, I guess I'll fix this. This is so, I hate when it does this because I thought I'd fix this. Jupiter may be going direct, but Mercury is still retrograde. Mercury is still retrograde. Let's say that. Okay, fixed it. All right, so based on the trends that I've seen, you know, for me, it feels like we could potentially see some more health crises coming in this period, just as we saw with the Flint water Michigan crisis, and also the increased awareness about ASL. Doesn't necessarily have to be awareness about that particular disease, but possibly maybe we have some growing awareness when it comes to some other medical issues, whether I said that be physical, whether that be mental, whatever the case may be. Maybe there is a louder voice when it comes to those health concerns that, you know, we all have to go through at some point. We might even start to notice some systematic shortfalls in health preparedness. And that could possibly extend into Punarvasu Pusha as well, which comes after Punarvasu. This could also lead to a rising of awareness when it comes to, like I said, certain disease or even breakthroughs in curing or eradicating, similar to how India became polio free. And then based on what we saw last time around 2014, I think that this period could bring about some surprising uprising or unexpected victories, especially for those who were previously seen as the underdog. Like I said, I don't know another word for it, but I'll just say underdog. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be on a world stage. You could see that within your personal life as well. You might see some David and Goliath situations play out in real time, and it just feels like the scripts are being flipped. The rabbit has the gun now. Like, it just feels like a situation where the shoe's on the other foot, you know what I mean? So there could be a lot of that going on in your own personal life, not just the global stage. And I also feel like how back in 2014, we saw ISIS capture this major city in Iraq, which shocked many people and represented this sudden, unexpected shift in power. That kind of energy can also show up in cycles like this. Like, we have this wild shift in power that none of us were expecting. Whether that is taken or whether that becomes a retirement situation. And then, as I said, always look at this from the lens of your own life as well. If you may be going through some power shifts or power dynamics, or even just as I was saying earlier, sometimes it's about finally, I'm just going to let loose. I'm not holding anything back. And the only reason I was thinking along lines in that direction is because sometimes people don't realize how much power they have because they've been holding back for so long. And so this is why I say there could be this element of I'm just going to release. But I will say this, on the other hand, as we were going through in the last video, when we were talking about Jupiter in Cancer, and obviously it was in Punarvasu when it was in Cancer, there did seem to be a weird air of cautiousness, you know, which is kind of shocking when you think about the energy of Punarvasu, which is let me be uninhibited and let me be unbound. But then I guess if you focus a lot on like the everyday person, if I see a lot of Punarvasu people, there's a lot of like suppressed emotions. And so maybe that is the air of cautiousness that I have been seeing when it comes to mirroring real life events. But eventually that cautiousness kind of runs out, and Punarvasu people generally will release at some point and just kind of, you know, have a moment. Have a moment where it's just like, I'm going to explode, right? So anyway, we see that air, still a bit of air of cautiousness when it comes to dating, when it comes to spending, when it comes to making plans. So it's almost like a mix, right, going on right now. So right now with Jupiter still in Gemini, the atmosphere is still a little bit more experimental, but there's also this loosening of boundaries as we move forward and more back into Cancer, or I should say there is a less loosening of boundaries. There we go. So right now I feel like we're in that more experimental energy. Things are a little bit more uninhibited, unbound. And then as we move a little bit closer to Cancer, closer to Pusha, that's when we start to see the cautiousness returning a bit more. And honestly, I don't even think we've fully gone full out when it comes to being as hesitant or risk averse. Is that the word I'm looking for? I feel like basically we could have taken a lot more risk, but there's still an element of caution to it. But I still see people out there doing things that maybe they wouldn't previously have done if Jupiter wasn't in Punarvasu, or if the energies in the sky weren't aligning in that way. Hopefully, hopefully that's what reflects your experiments or your thoughts as well. Or it could kind of just look like maybe you're testing the water in a few different situations that you wouldn't obviously test it in for. Maybe you go for a job that you've always wanted. Maybe you ask someone out. Maybe you try going to a dating event with a friend or something like that, and you're like, that's not something I normally do, but I'll go ahead and do it. But at the same time, it's nothing a little bit too unreasonable. You know, we're being guided by reasonable risk right now. I think that's the way I want to phrase it. You're taking chances, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't feel too extreme for most of us. Obviously, our own personal charts are going to be different, but that's kind of like how I wanted to phrase the energy that is going on right now. All right. Now, let me take a break, guys. Get some water real quick right here. Just give me a moment to collect myself. I hope you're all doing good, and I hope you can all still hear me. Because I love being on. I love seeing you guys' faces. And I'm just checking to see. All right, it looks like I'm still here. Thank God. Looks like it. I mean, I haven't checked the sound, but I see the likes. And don't forget to hit the like button. I really greatly appreciate it. It means a lot to me for you to stop by, hit the like button. Feel free to comment and feel free to ask questions as well. I mean, keep them general, because if you're going to ask about your own specific chart, come on, guys. I can't do all of that right now, but if you have a very general question, like what could it mean for Jupiter being in Punarvasu, being aspect by Saturn, you know, I could answer that question. That is not a big deal. But anyway, let us get into these signs. I'm very excited to go into what I believe is going to be unfolding for each of you. And remember, this applies for your sun, moon, and rising. And I also want to say these are generalized horoscopes, and this is Vedic astrology, if it didn't clue you in by the fact that I'm talking about Punarvasu, but you never know. I gotta make it clear for everyone. But yeah, feel free to look at your sun, moon, or rising. I prefer to say look at your rising sign. I think it is the most accurate, but some people swear by the sun or the moon. So I am not going to argue with you. If that is what you believe is best for you, then that is what is best for you. All right. Let me make sure that this is correct. I have my chart in front of me. I wish I could pull this up, you know. I'll have to figure that out. Learning to upgrade. I'm learning new things every day. Let me log in. That is not the sign. Maybe I can bring these horoscope drawings up. Give me a second, guys. Maybe I could bring this up for you guys. I don't think it will allow me to. All right, I'll figure it out next time, because I don't want to waste you guys' time, and I want to jump into this and not have to mess this up. All right, so Aries, this is happening in your third house right now. This is the house when it comes to siblings, when it comes to networks, when it comes to communication, anything having to do with short trips, kind of like everyday commutes is what I would say that this is for. And so when we think about what could be going on, is that you could find yourself taking a lot more chances and being a lot more brave. Because when we talk about this sort of cautious but not too cautious when it comes to risk taking, at the end of the day, Punarvasu is a Jupiter ruled nakshatra, and Jupiter wants to expand and wants to grow. And so I really do feel like this is an opportunity for you to possibly make new friends, learn different skill sets, try different experiences, or even I've seen people have like this this transit go around into their third house, and they've gotten licenses, they've traveled to different countries. I know third house is mainly connected to the travel you sort of do every day, but I've definitely seen when your third house gets light up that people start to take trips that they wouldn't normally take. Sometimes it's just a short trip, sometimes it's like, okay, I went to Spain for like a week, 2 weeks, just a short trip in and out, right? And so these are the things that could possibly be happening for you, Aries. It just feels as though you're expanding a bit and you're thinking about how you can bring more peace and fulfillment into your life as well. This can also have to deal with authentic expression. Sometimes when we get this Punarvasu feel, it's about releasing boundaries when it comes to expressing your personal opinions or how you think or how you move. And it just feels like I kind of just want to say what's on my mind and speak freely. And you might just be in that place right now, Aries, especially as we're going direct. You're like, I'm just going to let it loose. I'm going to say what I need to say and just keep it moving. If they don't like it, they don't like it. I don't care. But that is something that I can see for you. Taking more social initiatives, as I said before. And then sometimes this can look like a small economic recovery. Like I've said, I've seen third house to represent being able to transform your own wealth just because it's second from the second. And so it's a higher version of the second house. But I haven't seen it to represent like these great windfalls of money, but it can be an opportunity for money improvement. And so it may feel like you've gotten this opportunity to sort out your finances, or maybe you finally got the right playbook or information from someone and it's just like it clicks for you. Like maybe you've never understood the stock market and you're like, this is so overwhelming. Finally, you have someone who breaks it down, says it to you, and you're like, oh, great. Like now I get it. You start investing. And it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. But you start something conservative, right? Because we're still in that, this weird conservative like energy here. And you pick something like VOOO and it attracts the S&P 500. So something basic, something not too risky, but also you're learning something. And then you might have some unexpected news that may come in from a friend, family, whatever the case may be. Doesn't even have to be friend or family. It can literally be your work, but definitely with this combination, it can represent some unexpected news that is coming in for you, Aries. Now, whether that is good news, bad news, happy news, sad news, whatever, I would say this is just more surprising. The overall theme is surprise. This could be a good surprise. This could be a not so good surprise, but the feeling is that, okay, I have had something revealed to me. Now, what do I want to do with this information? From the overall, at least from my overall experience, there's a wisdom that comes from this. And I guess that's not to lean too much into Jupiter, but there is. It's just, Jupiter's the guru. And so when I see transits that have to do with your third house, and I'm on Taurus, but I need to go back to Aries. When I see transit that has to do with your third house, and it is just you being in this space and being in this vibe where you're expanding your world, sometimes you can have a sudden reveal that leads to some wisdom. Maybe learn something about yourself. All right, Taurus. So Taurus, this is happening in your, am I getting this right? Yeah, in your second house. I don't know why I got so confused, guys. I'm looking right at the chart. But anyway, this is happening in your second house. Jupiter is going direct in your house of finances. So to me, this looks like definitely a stronger awareness when it comes to your financial goals and the things that you value in life. And it's like you're finally putting what you've learned into practice for sure as it goes direct. And, you know, sometimes this can broaden your worldview. Maybe there's certain situations or certain things that you thought were important, but they're no longer that important to you, or just doesn't feel in alignment to you at all. And you're just like, let me leave this whole thing behind. So that can be something that happens for you. Other things that could be happening here is that you feel as though there is some improvement. There is more support when it comes to the area of finances, whether that be you get a raise, whether that be you find a different job, whether that be you just, I don't know, maybe you get married. And, you know, I do get a lot of second house transits to represent married. Granted, it's usually more Saturnian energy, but maybe you get supported by a spouse or, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend. It can go a lot of different ways. We all got different lives here, right? The second house, we know, is the house of those financial resources. And when we're talking about, I guess, recovery periods, then yes, this can look like a chance for financial recovery in those areas. You may suddenly have a few things revealed to you when it comes to your family, or just maybe your history, or even just having to deal with your own financial situation. Maybe you're one of those people who just did not like looking at the breakdown of your bank account, and you're just like, I don't even want to look at that. Now it feels like, you know what? I'm moving forward. I want to take a deep dive into the situation. So I have a bigger understanding of what my net worth is. And so you become more conscious of that. And then that way you can make that steady growth that Jupiter wants to put you in at this period. And so you might start to see that the efforts when it comes to the things that you value, when it comes to your self-esteem and your self-worth, it feels like you're starting to have more solid foundations. You feel a lot better about yourself, that you've been putting in effort and time and energy, and it's starting to grow. You're like, I've been working on me and feeling good about myself. And so now I am going to put all of the tools that I've used and put them into practice. Maybe you've been saying affirmations to yourself. Now you're getting into the habit of saying that every single day and saying, I'm beautiful, I'm kind, I'm smart, I am the most wonderful person in the world, whatever it is that you tell yourself. And it starts to become routine, and that can be something that helps you heal, you know, from in that manner, from self-esteem or any emotional issues that you could possibly have. And that could be part of the story when it comes to you guys. So I do want you to know that and keep that in mind as we move forward. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about you guys, but honestly, I think that pretty much covers what I have seen when it comes to like that second house energy. It's really having to do with creating more stability within yourself, whether that be emotionally or financially. And so since this is going direct and Punarvasu can just be like, finally, I have time to recover and actually create something stable. And I'm creating this professional brand. That could be something that you're doing, or redoing my resume. Anything that is going to contribute to a leveling up experience. We have Gemini, star of the show for now until it goes into Cancer up in June, July, whatever I said. But you are the star of the show, my beautiful Geminis. That means it is time for you to grow and to develop and to change and to transform. As I said, Punarvasu can bring these deep insights, especially when it comes to our character or who we want to be, or even just who we are in the world. Like sometimes when we have this combination, it's like we look at ourselves in the eyes of others and we see how other people see us. And if we like what we see, we continue. But if we don't like what we see, we say, I'm getting rid of that. And so honestly, this can definitely look like I'm losing weight. I'm changing my job. I'm changing my habits. Maybe you drink too much. Maybe you smoke too much. Whatever the case may be, I'm not here to judge you. But this can be definitely about, I want to become the bigger, better version of myself. Return to the light. That is what Punarvasu is about. I want to be my true self. I don't want to hide behind drugs or alcohol or whatever the heck it could be, food, whatever, doesn't matter. There's lots of things people hide behind. And now it becomes about, I want to reveal my true self and show this beautiful flower, this beautiful butterfly I've come to be after being a caterpillar for so long. And so you might find yourself just steadily growing, and it might feel like your life finally has momentum. Maybe it's felt very stuck for so long. And then sometimes this can look like inspiration, or heck, even rock bottom. Remember, we talked about the Flint, Michigan crisis going on here. For some people, that was the beginning of the end for them. And that's what happens when you don't do your due diligence. But I don't think for you guys, that is what you're doing, my beautiful astronauts. I think you guys are doing your due diligence. And so you're having a lot of personal growth right now, and a lot of opportunities that may be coming your way, especially if I look at this chart. Jupiter is over here ruling. Where am I? I'm losing myself here. Jupiter is over here ruling your, I believe that is your 9th house. Is that your 10th house? Let me make sure I'm correct. Yeah, it's your 10th house. So Jupiter is over here ruling your 10th house. So this is what it can look like. It can look like more career opportunities. Sometimes it can just look like solid advice coming from someone. Other times we can look at this because this is also ruling your 7th house. You meet someone, this person inspires you, and you change your life in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe you don't change your life, but there's something that some other people are bringing to you that you could no longer ignore. So I want you to know that when we think about the broader picture here and the broader awareness of what is going on within your life, this is definitely a shift that is happening. And so I definitely can feel like a personal and a professional shift is going on in your life. So that is something I wanted you to be on the lookout for. Also, a lot of this can be about self-reflection and being very honest with yourself about what you see. And sometimes it can be about learning to say no to certain situations, if that makes sense. Because Jupiter is this planet of lots of abundance and things happening. And when I notice when Jupiter goes retrograde, some people say it gives less opportunities. I've actually found that Jupiter goes retrograde, it gives more opportunities. And so sometimes when Jupiter goes direct, this is the time where you have to learn to say no and lay down the law. I've just noticed it, Just saying what I know, guys. Cancer. All right, Cancer. So Cancer, this is happening in your 12th house. Okay. Definitely an interesting placement to happen in your 12th house, because this is almost like spiritual growth and alignment. But then sometimes it can feel like you have a lot going on emotionally, like your inner world is so clouded and so full that people may feel like they're losing you, like you're not all there all the time. And this is a bit of like distracted energy, because you're trying to ascend to an emotional higher place. Maybe you want to even detach a little bit from the daily life and responsibilities. Honestly, with this placement here, I can't imagine you're trying to be in the space where you're working hard or you're in grind mode. That just doesn't really make sense for this energy here, especially since we have, Sagittarius ruling your 6th house, and then it's going into the 12th house. And so it's like, I don't want to work hard. I want to, not saying you don't want to help people, but you don't want to work hard for something. You might want to be generous in some way, but you're like, I don't want to have to grind. I'm not in that state. I'm not in that feel. That is not where I am going right now mentally. And then also when we talk about your 9th house ruler being in your 12th house, this is definitely a time for wanting to travel, creating some distance. But if we think about just like the themes that we were talking about here when it comes to releasing boundaries, if you've had any inhibitions when it comes to travel, maybe you're nervous. Some people talk about how they've been nervous to solo travel, or other times they think about how they are recognizing there's just certain things that they can't do anymore when it comes to travel. Maybe they were used to staying in hostels and they're just like, no, I want to go in a hotel. Or maybe they're used to staying in like, hotels, but now they want to stay in a 5-star hotel. So it can definitely be a leveling up thing when it comes to that. Like I said, this is more so personal economic recovery that is going on when we talk about this Jupiterian energy. And so when we think about how can we personally recover from things in the 12th house, so 12th house is the place of self-undoing. And so how you're recovering is by addressing any habits that you're shooting yourself in the foot with that are just not good for you. And this can be a time to just release all of that and or take a deeper look and take the steps towards releasing that and creating more balance into your life. Sometimes this is more about more health consciousness as well. When we're talking about wanting to rise and having a routine that's best for you, I quite often notice when we have Jupiter in Punarvasu in the 12th house, this can either do one or two things. Either you're going to find yourself, well, for you guys, more than likely not sleeping. But for other people, you might just find yourself sleeping too much. And so right now, sleeping becomes very difficult. It's hard to balance. And you might be struggling to find that balance, or even with another health routine. It doesn't have to be sleep. But you may be looking to find that balance within your life. And that's something that you're trying to, I guess I don't want to use the word balance again, but you are. I hate using the word balance. I have to work on my English literacy, you know what I mean? Like I need to pick some better words for you guys. But honestly, it really does feel like it could be a time for a recovery in that degree. And then also, since it's the house of debt, along with the 6th house, you could take on a little bit more debt at this time. But ideally, when I'm looking at this placement and the energy that it brings, it's not normally just incredibly horrific and negative for most people, not all the time. But as you've seen here, there are worse things that could have happened in the world. But this period tends to be a little bit more like we're transitioning into something. And so I feel as though this is more so we're transitioning out of a place where maybe we're just giving away our resources, giving away our time, giving away our energy, and we're trying to save some for ourselves or trying to redirect it into something that is valuable. What that could look like, maybe you have a friend or a family member that you find very draining. You stop giving them so much of your time and energy, resources, and you start focusing on something else that brings you more excitement and happiness. So that could be your story, Cancer. Or maybe you just you have a space to vent. Sometimes when we talk about the 6th house going into the 12th house, it's like this mental health awareness moment where you're just like, oh, I've got someone I can talk to my feelings about. So let's get into Leo. Leo, this is happening within your 11th house. All right. So Leo, with this happening in your 11th house, honestly, this is definitely going to give a better understanding of like your friendship groups and like what's going on there. So you may have some, long-term friends or social acquaintances that reveal some surprise things about themselves, or you find out some new expected things about them, or even that they just bring more news within their life. It could be positive. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's shocking and awful. You could have like a friend and they get pregnant and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know you were trying for a kid or whatever, and that is something that is unexpected and surprising that gets revealed to you at this time. And so you have this energy of celebration around you, which is possible. Granted, I didn't think that this Punarvasu energy was so very celebratory. It was more like recovering from something. Or transitioning from something, but who knows? Everything's different for everyone. But I do see that this can definitely bring an expansion within your network for sure, especially if you want to really expand your professional network. This is good for that. It's all right for friends. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty good for friends. You will probably find yourself being a little bit less judgmental and less cliquey about who you invite yourself around. But this can also represent things like, I want to surround myself with like a wellness group. I want to do meditation. I want to make friends through yoga. This becomes like something that could be part of your story, Leo. And then also when we talk about, stepping into becoming more brave, and especially when it comes to social circumstances, you find yourself growing in confidence. in a group setting. And that's something that can be totally new for you and transformative when it comes to that. Also with the 11th house, we talk about, gains from money and having some extra resources come your way when it comes to those situations. I'll say this from my perspective, because this is also connecting to your 8th house. Yeah, there can be some sudden windfall of money that you weren't expecting, or if you have a good stock investment, maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down. I mean, like I said, I didn't see too many crazy, I shouldn't say crazy. I didn't see too many unpredictable money moments that were bad during this period. So yeah, I could see definitely that you might get suddenly enough money to pay off a debt, settlement. This is things that happens, whether that's be from divorce or something else, inheritance, another job. Maybe you have royalties coming in, maybe you get a brand deal, whatever the case may be. But this is like you invested in something and it's starting to feel like it's paying off at this point. So that's something that could definitely specifically be happening for you, my beautiful Leos. And also, at this time, it may just feel like you want to let loose and have a little bit more fun, but who knows, I've seen this placement to sort of represent like 5th house, looking at 5th house ruler and the 11th house ruler. It's like brings more children into your life. And so maybe you become a grandpa, maybe you become, I don't know, a grandpa, an uncle, an aunt, maybe a grandpa. I'm not sure what age you guys are, but you more than likely not. Maybe you're likely become like an aunt, a new cousin, somebody's added to the family. That's something that can happen here. It's like, oh my goodness, suddenly so-and-so, I just found out they were pregnant. Suddenly so-and-so is having a kid. I'm like their godfather now. That's something this combination can do, just specifically for you guys. Now let's get into you lovely Virgos. So Virgos, for you, this is definitely happening in your, make sure I'm getting this right, your 10th house, I believe. Yeah, it's happening in your 10th house. And when I look at this combination of cards of this being in your 10th house, this can definitely represent you're getting more expansive or opportunities in the career-like sector or the career-like area. This can be that, hey, you feel as though you are meeting people who have the skills that you need to develop in the direction that you want to go in. Like if you were hiring someone, or heck, even if you're on a team and you're working with someone, you're like, okay, finally I'm working with someone who is an expert, who's really good at it, their job, and I don't have to baby step them or walk them through a situation. I'm gonna have to just turn off my phone, guys. I did not ever get these many notifications before. I don't know why everyone's blowing me up today, but it is what it is. Let me turn it down. But as I was saying, for you Virgos, definitely can bring about more opportunities within the career space, or if you have some other goals, side business, that is something that can be happening. This can also represent an inspiration of new ideas. Now, I will say this, Virgos, if you're looking particularly for love at this time, this might be the time to mix work and pleasure, just because you have your 7th house ruler going into your 10th house. And that can definitely look like meeting somebody from work, through work, because of work. These are the things that can happen at this period. And I'm not encouraging anybody to break any lines or boundaries or get into trouble. Everything should be consensual at all times. I definitely encourage that. So definitely that could be something that is unfolding within your story. But if we look at everything that's happening, you might even find that there's some things going on at work or within your work environment that shocked you, or that you were a little bit like thrown aback by, that you didn't know of, and that you just felt like, wow, I'm having this news being given to me at this point. For some of you, this could be looking up like you're wrapping up a job situation for sure, especially if we talk about the 10th house and moving forward and going direct with Jupiter. Jupiter sometimes, I'm not saying he severs things all the time, but sometimes he can make a situation so heavy that you're just like, I would like to get out of here now. And that could be the case when it comes to you guys, but you can also feel like you're being recognized at this time as well. This can just definitely lead to a boost in your personal reputation. I've definitely seen that. And then sometimes you can meet some people who will say some really great things about you for a long period in time. I'm trying to think what else that this could do. Honestly, it's just giving you a lot of ambition right now. Lots of ideas will be flowing your way. And it's like you finally have a path revealed to you as to how you might want to get certain things done, you know? And then also you can get that unexpected recognition. I don't know if I said that, but that's something that can happen as well. Not really great for work-life balance. If I really do look at these cards here, you might start to think about that a little bit more now that it's direct, and how you can implement things going on in the future, or even just, you know, baby steps. But for sure, when we're looking at this combination, your 4th house is in your 10th house, you know, it's very much giving, like, I bring my personal life home, I bring my work to, you know, I bring my work home with me, my personal life, I bring it to work. Like, it's hard to find that balance there, especially with Punarvasu, Jupiter and Punarvasu wanting to expand and grow all the time. All right, Libras, I'm going to get some water and then we're going to get back to you. So sit tight, everyone. But I am very thirsty and I feel like my voice is cracking. So be patient with me. And hopefully you're enjoying things so far. Be sure to listen to your sign. We're going to come back and jump right into Libra. This should not take too long. I'm just getting some water. Okay. Sorry, Libras. Let's get right into it. I don't want to waste your time. So, Libras, goodness. This is happening in your 9th house, the house of travel, the house of education, especially higher education, publishing, legal affairs. So this could actually look like you're moving forward when it comes to any sort of legal matters or educational matters. Like, let's say you were on the waiting list to get into a school, Jupiter goes direct, and all of a sudden, boom, it feels as though you are no longer on that waiting list, or maybe you were nervous about passing a class, you finally get some news, you passed it. If you're not in school, you're not planning to go back to school or anything like that anytime soon, the same thing can apply for any certifications. Also, the same can apply when we're talking about travel. You know, there's a lot of different rules and things going on when it comes to the world of visas, and so many different changes are happening. I think you might even need a visa as an American citizen to get into England right now. So there's so many different rules. It may feel as though, okay, finally I'm moving forward when it comes to the rules and the visa processes, and I'm no longer stuck, or it's no longer as confusing. It feels clear, or I finally get the money to pay for X, Y, and Z when it comes to that. Another thing that this can definitely look like is that it may feel as though you were expanding your mind spiritually. As we said, there's this theme of like broader awareness and knowing more, or having a different, wider and expansive worldview. So this feels like I'm encountering other people's thought processes and experiences, and I'm being educated in new paths and ways of thinking. And this is really causing me to reshape my mind and how I approach things. And maybe you're suddenly bringing those new approaches back into, not back into your life, but you're bringing them into your life and a way that is transformative. Because I would imagine that this energy is just very very transformative. Okay. Suddenly this can also represent something about a reveal about what motivates you, right? Sometimes we think that we want something and then you hear what X, Y, and Z did to get that thing and you're like, I don't want it that bad. You know what I mean? And so it reveals something about your own motivations and who you are and your morals and what you desire within the world. And that could be part of this process in this transit. It doesn't sound exciting, but it is self-awareness. And this does seem to be dealing with that, which is strange because Punarvasu can often get known for being a lack of awareness or whatever. But, I guess it depends on the higher version or the lower version of the Punarvasu person, right? We also have this releasing of old mental patterns, no longer wanting to be stuck in the same loop. There we go. Loop. That could be going on here. Educating yourself when it comes to health and how you can improve your physical or mental well-being. That is something that you might be practicing, that you're like, I'm going for this. I'm letting this benefit me. Heck, you could be moving forward with a new program. Maybe you felt as though like it was hard for you to get your life together and in balance during the retrograde period. And now it feels like you finally have spare time to actually work out and try this new diet plan that you've heard about, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's your life. But these are the things that you finally may feel like, oh, this is an opportunity that is opening up for me. And also, if we think about things in terms of economic recovery, well, the ninth house isn't, I'm not going to say it's not economical at all, but it's more so like how you think about money. Does that make sense? Like it's more so your thought process behind your spending. And so, or your saving or how, things like that. And so for me, when I'm looking at this, it's just like, you're thinking about how you can spend and save in the long term. It's more future planning when it comes to money, rather than I'm giving you an opportunity to make money, unless, like I said, it's through some sort of severance, inheritance. That can possibly happen for you, Libras, but I don't think the chances are super high unless you have some other placements within your chart. This, as we know, it's happening in your ninth house, and it's the sixth house ruler going into the ninth house. So that's going to be the house of conflict and all of that stuff. And those things can be coming to a head, especially if it's like a conflict with a higher up or a boss or an authority figure. That could be just completely and totally gone at this time, or at least it's leaving, it's wrapping up, it's coming to that closing state. So I just want you to be mindful of that. This is also your third house ruler going into the ninth house. And so that can just represent going on those short travels, distance, even just returning home. Maybe you've been on a trip for a while and now it's time to come home. So there is that going on. It finally feels like things are moving forward. Scorpio, let me get into this. As you're coming in, I'm going and doing the Jupiter going direct in Punarvasu energy for all of the 12 signs and what this can mean for you. We just wrapped up Libra and we're going to jump right into Scorpio. Hey, Scorpios. I hope you guys are doing really great. Really, really great. So this is happening in your eighth house. How fitting, the house of big money, investments, settlements, any sort of money you have to share with anyone else. Like if you get a stipend, or even if you get something like Medicaid, Medicare, something that would require a supplement for the government, that's technically a shared resource. Unemployment, these are all the things that would count as a shared resource. And so since things are moving direct, either A, maybe you are no longer on those stipends, etc., or you've finally been approved for it. It's vice versa. I've literally seen it in both scenarios. Like I have literally seen somebody say, okay, they've finally been approved for something, and then after a retrograde period was up, and then some other people say that it ended, like they were just done. But generally, it's going to be one of the two. This can also represent like any sort of, like I said, inheritance, big monies, stocks, investment, royalties. I'm trying to think of subsidies, all of these things that aren't directly like I get a job and I get a paycheck, things that are not like that, but money can come to you in those ways. Those are the things that are going to be lit up right now. And those matters will be moving forward. So let's say you were going through a divorce. The divorce could be finalized at this time and you get your settlement from that. Let's say you got into a car accident and you end up suing someone, and then you could negotiate some sort of settlement that way. And I'm not doing legal predictions, so if you guys want me to do like your legal predictions, don't. I'm just going by what I have seen, and these things can happen. This can also represent some emotional recovery. Generally, 8th house is more mental and psychological. And so you might even feel like you're healing some wounds when it comes to intimacy, vulnerability, and openness. And maybe you feel like you've gained some psychological insights, and things might still be unfolding and being revealed to you. But either way, it can feel as though you are entering a period of powerful healing, or maybe you just got out of it and now you're like, whoo, what do I do now? I've gone through this transformative experience, and that is something that I have to live with. But definitely 100%, this is very much personal transformation energy. I often see a lot of 8th house transits going on to represent a period in time where you're transitioning from one stage to another. Kind of like, if you were to graduate college and then you're moving to the real world, and then, or you go from getting engaged to getting married. You see what I mean? Like, this is a transition period. Like you're not just, it's not just a normal period, it's not just like I bought a house, which is really cool. But I don't know if I would say that was a transition period, depending on how long maybe it took you to get that house. But, but generally I wouldn't say that would be it. Having a child, these are the things that I've noticed come up a lot for that. But generally, like I said, this is going to probably be more so improvement in terms of finances and investments and all of that. You might even find yourself learning a little bit more about those things at this time. And I really do feel as though you're having more support, because sometimes when we have Jupiter and the 8th house, it's like other people are more supportive of us. We can relax. We don't have to be the one who carries everything on our back all the time. We have someone who can hold us up when we need it. And that's something that can come to light for you at this time, or really play out for you at this time as well. And then you also may just have some secrets revealed. Sometimes 8th house is secrets revealed about ourselves. Like I said, the knowing part of ourselves. Gemini in particular is going through this, since this is happening to them in their first house. But this can also be happening to you Scorpios, because if it's going in your 8th house, this is just a lot of emotional, in-depth insights. Sometimes, though, I've seen it reveal, like, somebody might be dating someone, then they find out that person is not monogamous or something with them, So it's like a revealing of different secrets sometimes. That can happen. Not saying that particularly is happening to you. Heck, maybe you meet a long-lost uncle and you get a big inheritance, and that can happen for you. Don't mind me. My nose always gets itchy from talking too long. I don't know what it is. So Sagittarius. This is happening in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, contracts, one-on-one dynamics. Either you are healing a partnership or you are wrapping one up. That is something that I've seen with this transit going on here for people. It's like you're meeting people, but it is quite possible that the people that you are meeting are not necessarily all the time the people that you want to stay within your life. And the reason I say this is because when I look at the energy of Punarvasu, and it's talking about returning to the light, it's about aligning yourself with people who feel authentic for you. So it is quite possible that you might even feel like, there's certain people who I love and I want them to stay, But then there's also some certain people who I've met, who I've had around, who I'm just like, I wouldn't mind never seeing you again. Like, and so this becomes the period where it goes direct, where you're getting those people out of your life for good, for sure. And that is part of the journey that can be happening with you, Sagittarius. So I just want you to know that. But you definitely have a broader awareness of people and the things you surround yourself by. One thing I've seen for some Sagittarius is some of them are kind of like in the space where they're realizing we all got issues, you know, like it doesn't matter. Take your pick. We've all had issues. And I found a lot of Sagittarius tell me that they actually have to end up helping a lot of people at this time. And I think it's because Jupiter is you guys' chart ruler. And so when it goes into the house of other people, it's like you're going into other people's homes, other people's houses, and you're giving that helping hand. Jupiter is that planet of big blessings. And so it's like you've probably been blessing other people. Other thing is that, you know, your communication for sure could be a lot more honest. For sure, at this time, you may find yourself actually even reckoning with it, where you're trying to feel like, or maybe you're done going back and forth, because the retrograde period is either you've gone back and forth about like how you communicate with someone, because communication is definitely coming up for sure with this combination. And so maybe you thought about how you communicate with others, how others communicate with you, and you're just figuring out to yourself, all right, how do I want things to play out? Like, do I want to communicate this way moving forward, or do I want to communicate that way moving forward? And that's something that could be your story, Sagittarius. Other things that this can happen for, yeah, it could bring some people into your life. Sometimes this can bring in more relationships. Going direct though, you know, from now till June, I would think it's going to bring about better relationships. And the only reason I say that is because we've gone through the direct, the retrograde, etc., a little bit in Cancer. And so now it's kind of like you have an understanding, a deeper understanding of like what you want in your life, who you want in your life. Like these are the things that you've probably been contemplating for some time. And so as it's going direct and it's moving forward, you're just like, okay, this is the information I want to move forward with. You could find yourself benefiting financially from a partnership or from a relationship with other people. That is something. Or you can also even bring about emotional growth through others. What could that look like? It could look like therapy. It could look like going to therapy. For sure. Moving forward, I really do feel as though this is bringing about growth and harmony into your relationships, where now it feels as though maybe you were being underestimated. Now you're coming back up, and you were the underdog, and you're proving other people wrong. And that it's a situation, something like that playing out. Other times this can just feel like other people are making you more aware of health. And sometimes it's like not even them consciously doing it. It's just that you look at somebody else's habits and you're just like, I don't think I want to do that. Or you look at the way somebody else treats someone and you're just like, I don't think I want to do that. Like, and do I do that? I want to make sure I don't do that. That is something that could be happening at this time. And so you're moving forward with all of those lessons that you have learned. But yeah, definitely it can bring about some professional opportunities or wanting to grow your network and actually growing it some as we move forward. All right, Capricorn. Capricorn, this is happening in your... For some reason, I've lost my chart here. Okay. Capricorn, this is happening in your 6th house. And so when we think about this going on in your 6th house, this can bring about like more job opportunities. Like I said, I think that Jupiter retrograde is actually better for job opportunities. It's like more amplified, but sometimes the energy can be confusing, and direct can bring about less opportunities, but better opportunities, more quality opportunities. And so I feel as though this is you finally feeling like, okay, I'm breaking through and getting the work opportunities, or even just the workload or the relief from work that I need. I have seen some people talk about how, you know, work might have been stressful. They need a break. is too much for them. And so this Jupiter going direct could give you the energy that you need, or maybe you went to a recovery period while it was retrograde and now you're going back. That's something that can happen with this. Whatever the case may be, you're changing your daily routines for good for a while, at least for the next 12 years. You are having some realizations about your health. You are trying to make those meaningful changes when it comes to maybe where you rent, where you stay at, or even adopting a pet. These are the things that you could be possibly doing. You're like, finally, you know what? I've been going back and forth about getting a cat for so long. Let me just get my cat. It becomes like this, making small like daily movements to push your life forward, and that will lead to long-term results. This can also look like paying off debt. That's something that becomes part of the story as well. When we look at these cards here, you're saying, okay, I have taken out a lot of different loans. Because sometimes when Jupiter goes to the 6th house, it just gives you more access to capital or to be able to take out loans, which can increase your debt. And so when it comes to this, you're like, all right, I've gotten some loans approved, but I need to start paying them off. And that becomes the story here. Get a mortgage, get approved for that. What else? Buy a new house, flip a house, flip an apartment, decide you want to be a building manager. There can definitely be a change of job here, especially as Jupiter goes direct. You might just realize, yeah, this environment is flat for me. I'm out. Or maybe you get promoted during this environment. You know, that is well within the possibility, just because Punarvasu connects so much to having that professional, lovable vibe that people like in an environment where you need to work. They do a great job with balancing, you know, kindness with honesty. And I guess they're not so intimidating that people, you know, sometimes people are so great, like other people get intimidated by them. Jupiterian people are really great, but they're not, I don't want to say they're not to that level. It's not true. It's more so that people just don't get that intimidation from them. You know, I don't know why. But either way, you could have some realizations about stress and work, and it could feel like you're taking a vacation at this time and moving on and saying, I don't want to do this. I need to take a little break. Or after you've taken a break, you're like, oh, well, do I even really want to go back? I've heard some people say that they work for a bit, then they take a year off, and then they work for a bit and they take a year off, and they go through that cycle. I think that for you, Capricorns, that might be a little stressful, but I do believe, because I believe that's your 3rd house, that is in your 6th house. So that's like you're putting a lot of effort and time and energy into the work environment and cultivating that and trying to build relationships. And maybe you don't get much sleep these days. That's something that could be going on here, especially since it also rules your 12th house. Yeah, you and the Cancers are going through it when it comes to the sleeping habits. You guys are feeling like this is a little bit rough here. Maybe not. Maybe you sleep too much. Maybe you sleep a little bit. I'll say it's not generally a balance when I look at the combination, but it does show that things can start improving now. You know, if you've had some issues, things start improving now. You start finding that right routine that is good for you. And I don't think if there's anything else that I want to mention. Sometimes it's a little spiritual awareness and enlightenment. You might feel highly intuitive, like, whoa, my intuition is very on point at this point. All right, Aquarius, let's get into this. So Aquarius, this is occurring. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Through your 5th house. And so this is the house of romance and all of that. So definitely 100% can take the opportunity to expand your romantic company and connect you to new people who are bringing in more worldly ideas to your life, and also educating you. And I don't know, the people just feel a little bit more productive. Sometimes worst case scenario, and this applies to you Sagittarius as well, and Aquarius. So maybe if Sagittarius you're listening, then whatever. If not Aquarius, you'll just get it. Sometimes I find that it can bring some people who are a little bit jealous of you. Jupiterian energy has this very, like I said, very contained energy inside, where they'll hide a lot of the negative emotions. And jealousy is one of those emotions that they hide, but they have a lot of. And so this can bring a lot more jealous lovers, jealous friends. That's the vibe that it can do. Same if it's in your 7th house. It can just bring a lot more people who have that jealous vibe to them, who are a little bit more bitter. But, I'm not going to say harp on that, because there's a lot of good things that could come through. This could be creative breakthroughs. You could actually meet someone who's actually very financially generous at this time, who can help you improve your financial situation. Or just, it feels as if like your dating life was dry and now you're just like, oh, it's blossoming. I find things to do. It just feels like things are moving forward now. It feels like I've got this energy in me. I feel like I'm meeting people. I feel like I'm seeing people who are like my type. Like I'm connecting to them. We are vibing. It just feels as though there are improvements being made in my love life right now. It feels as though you might have a lot of creative ideas, or you're expressing yourself in a way. And then sometimes I get the 5th house with Jupiter being there, especially in Punarvasu, to represent this break free moment where you just have a lot more free time. Worst case scenario, you lose a job. Best case scenario, you just take some time off for yourself and enjoy your life. So there's the thing with that. Also, 5th house connects to confidence. And so this can be a steady growth towards having more confidence in your life. And your mental health a focus on mental health when it comes to bringing more joy and fulfillment. That is something that you might find yourself doing, and it just feels easier now. It feels like you don't have to try as hard. You don't have to go through as many hoops, and you're just like, finally. It's so easy to just relax, Sometimes we beat ourselves up with our own thoughts. I don't know if that is your issue, Aquarius, but that is possibly what you could be doing. But 100%, even if your love life's not blossoming, you could find somebody you at least have a crush on, who you think is cutesy, who you want to spend time with, who you feel is like, oh, that's the one I think is going to bring happiness into my life. I really enjoy them. So it can just be like, I have a crush on this person type of moment when it comes to that energy. But yeah, expressing yourself just becomes a lot easier at this time. And I really do think that this is going to be very beautiful for you Aquariuses, finally getting a little bit of relief in that area. Pisces rules your 2nd house, and that is going into your 5th house. And so this can definitely look like gaining some money through your hobbies, your creative outlooks or outputs, whatever word I'm trying to go for. You're making money through that venture. It also connects to your 11th house of friends. So you might even find that your network circle is helping you expand in those areas if you are looking to do so. Also, this gives like, oh, I'm going viral type of energy. I'm being seen, I'm being noticed. Like that's the type of energy that could come on there. Or you're being blessed through your friends with some opportunity in your life that you really enjoy, that you really want, that you're like, oh yeah, this is something I like. And then also this can look like an achievement too, because the 11th house can be awards and 5th house can be education. And so maybe you get some educational award. It doesn't have to be educational award. Sometimes it's certificates. Sometimes it is just hey, like you are the most creative artist of the year award. You won the Grammy. I mean, maybe not the Grammys, but like you've won something for your artistic ability or achievement. And that's something that could be a part of the story. Especially with Jupiter and Punarvasu. Like it's very breakthrough energy. It's very much like I'm original, I'm different. At least I think Punarvasu people. So romantic too. I mean, this is why I said Aquarius, I think you guys are going to have the best time, because that Punarvasu energy is very romantic. One of my favorite paintings is by a Punarvasu native. It's called The Kiss. And I feel like it embodies that energy so much of being that, take that risk, but also it's very self-contained, right? Because it's just a kiss. But at the same time, it feels like the biggest risk in the world sometimes. So that is what I think about when it comes to that Punarvasu energy. Pisces, you're last but not least at all. Pisces, this is happening to you in your 4th house. All right. So when we're looking at this happening to you in your 4th house, it can feel as though you want to expand and move forward when it comes to your home environment. Now, maybe you've been looking to move and you've been trying to decide where. Now that Jupiter's direct, I wouldn't be surprised if you have a good idea, or you've started to make plans or put things in motion. You've gotten a real estate broker, you found an apartment, you are planning to move, you're planning to jump ship. Like, honestly, Pisces, I really do feel like that's the vibe that you're on. You're like, I'm ready to go. And it can feel like the wheels of fate are just turning away. I think that when we think about the fourth house, there is an element of emotional growth there that we should talk about, because the fourth house can represent your family, your home, your upbringing. And I've noticed when people say they've had transits to their fourth house, they either have this period of maturation where they grow up, they maybe move out their parents' home, or they get their own place. Like maybe they live with roommates. They didn't move with their parents, but they live with roommates. And now they're moving out on their own for the first time. And then we get to the period where it could just like, well, now I'm living with someone else. But there's a level of independence and growth that is being pushed forward. And also, it's very self-directed energy. Like, I'm someone who's taking control of my life. Like, I want to be responsible. I want to make sure that I am cleaning my apartment, that I am taking care of myself, that I am exercising. And this is why I said the fourth house is a period of maturation that I see emotionally. So it sounds boring when you just say it out loud like that, but it's one of the better transits because it allows you to grow internally. Also, like I said, you learn a lot about your family. Other things that this can represent is that you might gain clarity about kind of what I said before, what home truly means to you, what it feels like to you. There may be some sudden reveals, as I mentioned, when it comes to your family, when it comes to your history, things that you didn't personally know about people in your childhood, your life, whatever. Sometimes this is romanticizing your future, because the fourth house is like where you want to build roots and what makes you feel secure. And so you start getting into this mental headspace of like, what is going to make me feel that way? And that's why I mean the sort of romanticizing the future aspect. And in that regard, depending on who you are, you start making plans to go in that direction, or hopefully you've already made plans and you're already moving in that direction. Or maybe you just kind of keep the plans to yourself. That's the worst case scenario. But also, this definitely represents an increase in emotional stability, physical well-being. You've probably gone through a period of recovery, especially with Jupiter retrograde in the fourth house. That's a period of recovery. And it kind of works in all the water sign elements, 12th house, 8th house. These are all the, like, when it's retrograde there, it's usually like, I'm recovering from something. So now that it's direct, you're probably out of this recovery period, and hopefully you feel a lot better. But for sure, you might want to be making some improvements to your home. Taking care of family is part of that story as well. Additions to the family, steady growth in terms of, I don't know, if you're looking for home security, maybe you're even just decluttering. I've seen people do that too. Honestly, it can make people really happy. I know it sounds crazy. Sometimes it's decluttering in terms of my room or my house or my car, or, like, these are the things I see people talk about when they talk about like this, I'm getting rid of this, as I have this Jupiter transit my fourth house. But then sometimes it's like decluttering of yourself emotionally. Like if you're someone with depression or anxiety, and I'm not saying you can get rid of these things ever, but you can manage them. And so you're decluttering negative thoughts or old thinking patterns or old loops, and that can be part of it. And so now you have an increase in happiness in your life. And that's why I say I think this transit's really good. It sounds boring, but if you think about it, it's just like, this is one of those transits where you're just like, oh, wait a minute. By the this transit, I was super happy and at peace. I'm just saying. Other than that, yeah, I've seen people meet people who they love and connect with. So it is very possible that you meet someone during this time period, for sure. And they're definitely going to be someone who very thoughtful, very worldly in their knowledge, and obviously they're going to have a spiritual side to them. If I think about, excuse me guys, because this is you going into the 4th house. So you've kind of in a way been in shut-in mode yourself, similar to the Sagittariuses. And now you're ready to sort of branch out and do your thing more and move forward. And it may even just felt like you personally have just been stuck for a while. And now it's like, oh, finally, I'm out of my feelings, or I'm out of this space where I'm exhausted, or X, Y, and Z wasn't happening for me, and this wasn't happening for me. And now it feels like I have some direction in the space that I want to go in. And that is what it is, you know? Like, it just feels like you want to move forward, and that is what's going to be happening for you. Also, you know, you have Sagittarius ruling your 10th house, so I definitely see that career opportunities opening up as well. All right. That is what I have for you guys, all of you beautiful astronauts. Hopefully you stayed with me. If not, then you can always watch it back and go to what is relevant for you. I'm very happy that you guys stopped by and listened to me talk about all the lovely things happening with Jupiter now being direct in Punarvasu until June. So we have a lot of a great potential golden window of opportunity to move forward with all of our plans. Since then, especially all of my Pisces and Geminis and Sagittariuses and Virgos, like, I know you guys were stuck or you felt like it was a million and one things stacked against you. Jupiter's a very heavy planet. I know it's the planet of blessings, but at the same time, it's a planet that it's hard to get out of your way, you know? So it felt that way, and now it's starting to feel like this burden has been lifted and you can finally move forward with the things that you want to do. So that is what I have for you, beautiful astronauts. I'll put the timestamps in after the fact, and then I'm going to link in the Jupiter and Cancer video just in case you guys want to check it out. And it has been lovely to see you all. Don't forget to check out the latest reading on Thursday at noon. I know you guys are going to love it. And also, what was I going to say? Yeah, readings are back. If you want a private reading from me, link can be found in the description bar below. And I can't think of anything else I was going to say. No, that is all. And, you know, it's going to be spring soon. So, you stargazers, be on the lookout. I guess next week I will have the spring 2026 reading, because you guys know I love the seasonal reading. So you're going to get 2 readings, one for the month of April, one for the entire spring season and how things are going to unfold. Hopefully you really like it. I think you will. And if you would like to get access to the spring 2026 to see how your spring season is going to unravel and unfold this year, then come on and become a member. But yeah, become a member, and I would love to see you there. And you can get access to all sorts of content and special priority when it comes to commenting and me responding to comments. I do try to make my members a priority, and that is all I have to say. Now, see you next time, guys.